Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Critical Conversations in Library and Information Science. My name is Nicole Cook. I am the Augusta Baker Endowed Chair at the University of South Carolina's School of Information Science. And so this is one of our series that we do in honor of Augusta Baker. So we are so grateful that folks are coming in and can join us today. So for this season, which is spring of 25, this is the third of three critical conversations that we'll be having. And we've had some really great conversations and some great speakers. Not to be, we're going to top all of that today. So I'm going to welcome shortly my dear Cearra, newly minted Dr. Cearra Harris, who will be our presenter for today. If you have been with some of the Baker lectures over the last few years, you will surely recognize Cearra. Cearra was the Augusta Baker graduate assistant and Augusta Baker scholar for several years. And now that she's Dr. Harris, that time is coming to an end, but we wanted to give Cearra her flowers and also give her a warm send-off as Augusta Baker scholar. So just some quick housekeeping. Soon I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Harris for a presentation. So we ask that everyone put your questions either in the chat box or in the Q&A function, and we will certainly have time at the end of the presentation to address those questions. We ask that everyone keep their microphones off until that time. Today's presentation is being recorded and it will be on the Augusta Baker homepage, and I'll pop that link into the chat in just a bit. It'll probably be up over the weekend, but not too long. All right, and so without further ado, I'm going to welcome Dr. Cearra Harris.
Hey y'all, my only goal right now is to not cry. I was telling Dr. Cook, I feel like ending my doctoral experience is really getting real to me. I'm really honored to be able, let me get this together, to be able to facilitate this. And yeah, let's jump straight into it. My name is Cearra Harris. I am so excited. Like Dr. Cook said, this is really a full circle moment for me because I did facilitate many of these lectures over the years. So now that I'm near the end of my own doctoral journey, I have the opportunity to facilitate one myself. So this is really special for me, and I want to thank Dr. Cook for this opportunity, and I really appreciate you all for attending. So to facilitate my presentation, I'm going to start off by sharing some insights about my career before embarking on my PhD journey. Following that, I'll dig into some of the key milestones of my doctoral experience and provide you a brief overview of my dissertation research. From there, I'll outline my plan for the future when it comes to research and service. And then to conclude my presentation, I want to spend some time expressing heartfelt gratitude to those who supported me and paved the way. And then I'm going to close out and not cry by sharing some advice for current and aspiring PhD students before opening the floor for questions. So my library career began right out of high school when I was hired as a sorting shelver for Richland Library Southeast. I didn't realize it at the time, but this position would mark the beginning of something really magical for me. At that library, a fantastic youth librarian named Amy introduced me to the wonders of youth library services. I started assisting her with setting up and breaking down her programs, but it really allowed me to see the endless possibilities in library programming. Before long, I received my first promotion at Richland Library Southeast, and I had the opportunity to partner with Amy on a program. After 2 years at Richland Library Southeast, I was offered a full-time position at the old Richland Library Sandhills, and that's where I really hit the ground running with programming. I'm most proud that during my time there, I led the transformation of the Homework Support Lab. That was a grant-funded initiative, and we serviced about 30 middle school participants each day who gathered to really fellowship with each other And then I snuck in some homework support, and through the grant, I was able to pay teachers to provide homework support. So it was a really great community building opportunity, and it allowed me to really get to know the teens, their parents, and the teachers so that we could create supplemental programs. I also did some really fun things there. I coordinated block parties and created programs for the whole family. Eventually, I moved to Charlotte, and I worked at a few libraries before I decided to go get my MLIS and become a youth librarian at the West Boulevard Library. A memorable moment for me, and it's pictured up here, is that some young women that I worked with in a group home signed my graduation cap. These young women were in foster care and they were mothers, so it was adolescent mothers in foster care. I fell in love with this group of young women so bad that I wanted the library to be housed in the group home. That's how connected I was to them. So I started volunteering at that group home as well. So I spent a lot of time there. So they knew that I was going to school. They were a part of my application process, and they checked on me, like checked me quite often to make sure I was keeping up with my grades. But at the end of that experience, because these young women knew some of the hardships that I faced growing up in a small country town, they told me that they believed that they could further their education, or that the possibilities were endless for them because they watched me do it. That's how important library work to youth is to me, and it's something that I will always remember. And I have that cap on display in my home right now. Whew. Two programs I'm particularly proud of during my time in Charlotte are the West Boulevard Library Teen Circular, which is a teen newspaper that I started that allowed our young people to gain virtual volunteer hours during the pandemic. And this newspaper that we created talked about real issues that teens were facing, and it was distributed throughout the schools as well as the community. My teens they earned over 100 volunteer hours in that short period from when I launched the program before I left to pursue my PhD. I'm also really proud of the great literary group, and there's a picture of some young women that were a part of that program as well. This was an outreach book club that focused on supporting the positive literacy development of marginalized youth, and I did most of them in the school. So my programs were centered around the books and activities that they were focusing on in the classroom, so they had an extra layer of support. I loved being a youth librarian. And if you're in any of my classes, they could tell you that I talk about it a lot, how much I want to be a youth librarian again. But I decided to pursue my PhD because I wanted to do more. I wanted to conduct research to help libraries better support marginalized youth, and really to be in community with and assist future librarians in becoming the best youth programmers and just librarians that they could be. More than anything, I wanted to pay it forward, just like my phenomenal mentors and managers during this time, Amy, Kelly, Jim, Jay, Beatrice, Angel, Detrice, Frank, Sarah, and Miss Lillian had done for me. And that's why I decided to pursue my PhD. The past 4 years of my doctoral journey have been a whirlwind of experiences, including both triumphs and challenges. I've navigated, excuse me, y'all. I've navigated personal loss, specifically the passing of my beloved grandmother, and that greatly influenced my perspective and my ongoing commitment during my work. Despite these challenges, I'm honored to reflect on my journey and to share just a few of my many accomplishments with you. I was named the Ethel Bolden Minority Fellow, a Spectrum Doctoral Fellow, an SEC Emerging Scholar, and a University of South Carolina Presidential Fellow, where I currently serve as the co-president of our advisory council. Me and Dr. Cook did a lot of work. She's probably one of the hardest working women I know. We worked on grant funded projects. We received a $5,000 Carnegie Whitney grant, a $2,000 Excellence grant. We developed a DEI conference for information professionals that was free. We created open access resources, and we did our part to expand the University of South Carolina's library collection to include more diverse voices. Like she said earlier, I had the opportunity of serving as her scholar, which strengthened my connection to Augusta Baker's legacy. In this role, I acted as Dr. Cook's program moderator, providing support for more than 1,000 program participants. Dr. Cook and I collaborated extensively, both in person and virtually. These programs were crucial to my academic success as a doc student because she consistently challenged me to step out of my comfort zone and really pushed me to exceed my own expectations. So as a result of all of that, I was able to get published 3 times. And y'all, I taught a lot. I didn't even realize I taught as much till I was working on my CV. But I had the opportunity to develop the trauma-informed librarianship course that's at USC and is now part of our trauma-informed certificate program. Beyond academics, I've been really engaged with the community, and that's what I think has really just ignited a fire in me and to show me how the skills that I've gained as a doc student are transferable into other aspects of community work. So I was recently appointed to the City of Columbia Citizens Advisory Committee for Community Development, where I serve as the chair. This committee plays a part in overseeing 3 of our largest housing grants in the City of Columbia that are specifically for marginalized groups. I'm a board of trustee for the South Carolina Fathers and Families Board, which provides invaluable resources to fathers across the state. Just last year, the organization helped over 3,500 fathers just become better dads. It's really beautiful. And I currently serve as Councilman Tyler Bailey's advisor for policy and constituent affairs. And I was recently hired as a consultant with Watershed Consulting Group. But I'm the most proud, and if you talk to me for longer than 5 minutes, I'm going to bring it up to get support, that I was able to establish the Dorothy Diane Lucas Legacy Scholarship to invest in the education of young women in my home state, just like my grandmother did for me. She's a blueprint of the woman that I strive to be every day. Had it not been for her impact on me and her enduring compassion and her willing to invest and support every young woman that she came in contact with, I would not be here today. These experiences have shaped my professional path, but also reinforced my commitment to making a positive impact in my community. These are just some pictures from my experience from teaching, from the junior league, getting an award, the Adjunct Teaching Award of my grandfather, and then right in the center is my grandmother and my sister, Cameron. So my dissertation research examined how libraries can effectively address historical trauma and implement trauma-informed care practices to enhance services for a community like Edgewood in Columbia, South Carolina. This predominantly Black neighborhood is situated between our two of our HBCUs, or historically Black colleges and universities, Benedict College and Allen University. Edgewood has experienced numerous challenges rooted in historical trauma stemming back from Jim Crow laws, segregation, and systemic inequities. The closure of the Waverly Branch Library, once the most accessible public library for Black residents in this area from the 1930s until 1971, only compounded these issues, exacerbated by systemic discriminatory laws throughout the state. Despite these challenges, the community has consistently demonstrated remarkable resilience. Recent research emphasizes that libraries serve as not only storehouses of information, but also critical gathering spaces that foster social connections and support networks. As library professionals, I believe that we are responsible for strengthening our community ties and empowering our users to reach their highest potential. My case study, so I did a case study for my dissertation, was conducted in collaboration with the Edgewood Community Enrichment Library Edgewood. It focused on how trauma-informed library services can advance social justice and ensure that library services are inclusive for vulnerable community members to avoid re-traumatizing them and to really help empower them as well. Ultimately, my dissertation sought to highlight the impact of trauma on a marginalized community while offering actionable recommendations for public libraries. A significant outcome that I'm really excited to share with you all was the creation of a toolkit that aims to equip library staff with the tools they need to better engage with vulnerable community members. Before we dig into the nuts and bolts, I want to share some pictures of Edgewood so you can get to know how beautiful this community is. So these are the 2 colleges, Allen University and Benedict College, and Edgewood is literally situated right in the middle of them. These are some pictures from the area. So Baxley's Grocery was a central grocery store that's located in the heart of the community. The family is currently working to reopen it, and this grocery store meant so much to this area, and it's really demonstrated in that picture right beside it with my hand holding that case. This picture was taken actually in the grocery store. And this case includes names and products. So what the owners of the grocery store would do, if someone did not have money to pay for their groceries, they were on an honor system. So they kept a record of what the person got from the grocery store, and they would pay it back when they had the money to. The picture of the young girl is in the Waverly Library. So, and then the picture of Hill's Barbershop, that barbershop is right across the street from the grocery store. It's been there. The grocery store was originally in that building in the late 1920s. The original owner sold it to Mr. Hill. And then when he passed away, he literally gave it to his mentee, Moses Felder, who has owned it and operated since 1955. And then the picture of the young people is at Drew Wellness Park. So it was the only pool that was accessible to Black individuals in this community. And in Columbia, really, people would come and travel to come to this grocery store. The white building is Levy School. So that was a school that was established for African American students. The church, that is the original Waverly branch. So that is what it looked like on the outside. And then there's some pictures of people who played prominent roles in this community. The houses, the peach colored houses, that's just to show you what the houses look like back then. And then Ethel Bolden and her husband, Ethel Bolden, when I got introduced to this work, it was during my time as the Ethel Bolden Minority Fellow. She was the first Black professional hire at Cearra High School. She was a prominent librarian, and I don't think many of us will be here today, especially when it comes to how far our field has evolved in South Carolina, had it not been for women like Ethel Bolden. And her husband played a really prominent role in shaping and supporting young men in the Edgewood community, including my grandfather. So the case study that I developed gathered insights from 5 Edgewood community members who were actively involved in the development of present-day Richland Library Edgewood, 5 Richland Library staff members who were or are actively involved in daily operations at Richland Library Edgewood, and 10 current library users. I used a mixture of oral histories, interviews, and a qualitative questionnaire, and these were my questions. So how did the disbanding of the Waverly Branch Library impact the collective memory and identity of Edgewood, a historically marginalized community? How, if in any way, do current library services at Richland Library Edgewood fall short in providing inclusive services to vulnerable community members who've experienced historical trauma? And how can libraries critically assess and enhance trauma-informed practices to genuinely address historical inequities and support vulnerable community members, particularly in the light of the disbandment of the Waverly Branch Library and the current needs of the Edgewood community? The best part, I think one of the most exciting and informative parts of my dissertation was the creation of my literature review. I want to say thank you to my committee for really pushing me to make my literature review what it turned out to be, which I think is something really beautiful. So my literature review covered several critical areas. I started off by exploring the often overlooked history of public libraries, excessively focusing on instances of racism and the impact that this history has on marginalized communities to this day. I then dug into the concept of social justice, and I examined how it has served and continues to serve as a guiding principle for meaningful change within the library and social work systems. I believe that understanding this framework is essential for really promoting equity and inclusion within our field, but it also shows the interconnectedness between the library and the social work field. I then reviewed the concept of historical trauma, which is vital for recognizing the ongoing effects of systemic racism and the injustices faced by Black communities. Historical trauma refers to the cumulative emotional and psychological effects experienced by a group as a result of significant and prolonged adverse experiences, such as colonization, slavery, or genocide. This trauma can impact generations, leading to ongoing cycles of grief, loss, and social challenges within the afflicted communities. Then I investigated the use of trauma-informed care practices within the library. I evaluated their effectiveness in addressing the needs of those who've been impacted by historical injustices. Trauma-informed care practices acknowledge the widespread impact of trauma on an individual and aims to create a safe and supportive environment for all. These practices involve understanding the effects of trauma on one's behavior and their interactions, ensuring that all library services are accessible and welcoming for those who've experienced trauma. The goal is really to foster trust, to empower the community members, and to promote healing through the creation of inclusive programs and spaces and resources. So each section of my literature review builds upon the next, and it ultimately supports the goal of demonstrating that libraries can begin to right historical wrongs by understanding the histories of the communities that we serve and developing practices and services that will serve them best. So that was a lot. But to do all of this, like I said, I developed a case study that captured the perspectives of community members, current library users, and practitioners. My goal was to really understand how historical trauma has shaped current needs, and then to develop a toolkit that the public library could use that builds on the better understanding of the community to develop and implement trauma-informed library practices. My data collection took place in three phases. The first phase served as really an introduction to the research, to the partners. The second phase included gathering the oral histories from the community members, interviewing the library staff, and distributing the qualitative questionnaire to patrons of Richland Library Edgewood. In total, I engaged 20 research partners. I think my favorite part was doing my oral histories because I was able to go into sacred spaces. So I did many of them in their homes or their businesses. But I also really enjoyed gathering the information from the qualitative questionnaires because I literally popped up shop in Richland Library Edgewood with a table, and I had some beautiful conversations that were on the record and off the record with current library users. It didn't do anything but make me want to get back into the library because of that beautiful connection that you're able to make when you are doing like a reference interview, you know? So I analyzed the data from the first two phases of data collection, and then I drafted the first version of the toolkit. In the third phase, I went back to all of my research partners to get their feedback and to make sure that I encapsulated their voices in a way that was authentic and something that they could be proud of as well. Incorporating the feedback from my research partners in the third phase allowed me to really address any community needs and to ensure that the final product was something that had their buy-in so that they would support its implementation if it came to that point. In addition to collaborating with my research partners, I also sought insight from community stakeholders. This group included Councilman Tyler Bailey, Representative Seth Rose, social worker Jessica Blizzard, library practice expert and former manager of Richland Library Edgewood, Randy Heath, and Cicely Baxley Johnson and Sonia Johnson of Baxley's Grocery. I thought it was also really important to capture the voices of our stakeholders, our community stakeholders. It allowed the toolkit to really reflect diverse viewpoints, and it broadened the study's reach and potential impact. It got it on the minds and hearts of people who can really do some real change in this area. So ultimately, I wanted to create actionable strategies that empower the library and its patrons, and then the toolkit could be a resource that fosters safety, belonging, and support within our library. So this is what I found out. So the oral histories answered research question number 1. And they focused on the consequences of Waverly Branch Library's closure, revealing a broader context of library access for Black residents in Columbia, South Carolina. The absence of a library intensified feelings of exclusion and highlighted systemic racism. Many participants were unaware of the intertwined histories of the Waverly and Wheatley Branch Library. So there was 2 libraries in this community. The Wheatley branch was the first library, but they moved it into what became the Waverly Branch Library. So a lot of my community members had either recollection of the Waverly or the Wheatley. They didn't realize that the Wheatley became the Waverly. One participant recalled, I remember the Waverly branch, but I still couldn't go too often because it was still hard to reach. It was one of the few libraries for Black people. Another noted the Waverly branch was a community hub, but lamented its closure by stating, after they moved it, we had nothing. The oral histories also highlighted experiences of racism and the community's resilience in combating discrimination, including protests for job equity and the participation in the civil rights movement. One of my participants shared their pride in being hired as the first Black cashier at Silver's Dime store in downtown Columbia. The participant later became the first teacher to integrate Richland One, reflecting the community's commitment to advocacy for change. While the library's closure didn't have an immediate impact, it contributed to ongoing feelings of marginalization. Participants often did not even perceive their struggles with racism as trauma, illustrating how deeply ingrained those experiences have become for them. Understanding the community's past can inform a more effective and compassionate approach to library services that address longstanding inequities. So the closure of the Waverly Branch not only represented a loss of resources, but it also symbolized the long-term effects of exclusion and discrimination in this community. The historical context demonstrates the importance of understanding these experiences when supporting them today. So for a library to be trauma inclusive, it must acknowledge and address the effects of trauma on the individuals and the communities that they serve. It's essential for libraries to understand the far-reaching impact of trauma to better accommodate survivors and to provide the support necessary for their success while also not re-traumatizing them. Research question number 2 aimed to evaluate the trauma inclusiveness in the services provided at Richland Library Edgewood, and it was guided by the insights from staff members that were involved in the study. The Richland Library research partners, possessing a range of experience, demonstrated a strong commitment to improving both Richland Library Edgewood and the broader Edgewood community. All 5 of my research partners play active roles, either in the development or the daily operations at the library, with 3 of them being currently employed at Richland Library Edgewood in varying capacities, and 2 in leadership roles. Each has over 5 years of library experience. When discussing the library's responsibility to support individuals affected by trauma, there was a unanimous agreement amongst the partners, but they struggled to define practical strategies for implementation. One partner noted, the pandemic, the killing of George Floyd, and the Black Lives Matter movement really opened our eyes to where we lack. Another partner emphasized the importance of establishing a safe and supportive environment to foster a sense of safety and community. We must acknowledge that people have experienced trauma, is what they said. The staff members identified several critical gaps in their services, particularly in programming that resonates with the community's needs, echoing the sentiments that were provided by both the community partners and the people who responded to my survey. The evaluation outlined in their interviews reveal that while the library offers meaningful benefits, it must ensure that those efforts are genuine rather than superficial. Partners stress the importance of involving the community in both program creation and assessment. One partner articulated, "I want to share a more comprehensive picture of our impact on the community." A library social worker provided another statement by saying, "We must ensure that people feel heard and supported, creating spaces that invite those with barriers to participate." The findings highlight that current library services at Richland Library Edgewood do have some gaps when it comes to being trauma inclusive, but the staff strongly desire to enhance their support for the community. Challenges related to time and capacity, which I think we all can relate to, may hinder their ability to adopt new strategies, yet integrating trauma-informed care would significantly enhance community support while also alleviating some of that staff overload. The library's commitment to enhancing inclusivity must include critically examining its role in addressing historical injustices. Opening Richland Library Edgewood was just the first step. The future must focus on providing equitable services. The call for mental health programming and essential resources points to the necessity of addressing diverse experiences of oppression. Recognizing the complex interplays of these factors and how they play a significant role in affecting library engagement, especially for demographics like teens, highlights the need for more outreach and community involvement. So all of that led to what answered research question number 3. So the findings of my study led to the creation of the Healing Histories Library Practitioner Toolkit, which you can access if you scan this QR code. I checked it recently. It definitely works. The toolkit is the result of all of this work and the efforts that really were provided by the community, the Edgewood community, and the library staff members. Its purpose is to provide practical strategies that cultivate a supportive environment for all library users. It serves as an independent resource, allowing users to understand the key concept, or readers like yourselves to understand the key concepts of my dissertation without having to read through the entire thing. So as you review it in your own space over there, I'll guide you through some of the sections. So to start off, I really take a deep dive so that the reader is able to understand the Edgewood community. I present the research, I discuss the experiences that inform this case study, and I provide you with a brief community history. I think this is really important for really deepening your understanding as you engage with the rest of the toolkit, but it also serves as a model for something that a potential librarian could facilitate in their own community if they wanted to create a case study that was similar. I then dig into historical trauma. So I provide insights into trauma and its widespread effects on individuals. This section also outlines the library's role in addressing historical trauma, aiming to inspire library professionals to recognize and tackle these challenges, ultimately aiding in the healing and resilience of those impacted by historical trauma. I then take a way deeper dive into the case study and provide you a review of it. It gives you those foundational insights into my dissertation research and preparing you for discussion of the findings that I really briefly went through. And then embedded in all of these are actionable tools that potential readers could put into place in their own libraries. I then go into the results, and from there, I talk about the sanctuary model. So, building on the insights of the case study, this section dwells into trauma-informed practices that are outlined in the sanctuary model and illustrates how these practices can be effectively and kind of easily implemented in any library, but it's especially one like Edgewood. I think is what my favorite, I go into my favorite part, which are my Healing Histories Research Partner Spotlights. This section shines a light on the research partners, and I want to note that it was really important for me to call the people who participated in my study partners, because had it not been for them, none of this would have been possible. They were more than just people I was studying, but they were active contributors to the development of this case study and this toolkit. They had invaluable expertise and they had an ongoing commitment to the community. And it was key. It was key. Each partner enriched this project with knowledge, ensuring that the toolkit reflects the community's needs and aspirations. Insights were gathered from those other stakeholders that I previously discussed. I then dig into the key terms for professionals, and this is for all library professionals. I think continuous learning is really important. So having the key terms there, so maybe it's a refresher or something new, we're all learning together if you read the toolkit. And then I close it out with my resources. And this is just a list of articles, books, podcasts, anything that I could find that I felt would deepen in your understanding of trauma-informed care practices, how they can be used in the library, but also to demonstrate why this work is important. I try to include it in that resource portion of the paper. If you take one of my classes, I always say, put it in your professional toolkit is something that you're going to be able to use later. And that's the same mindset I had when I developed that section of the toolkit. Additionally, the toolkit offers those resources to really help you expand your knowledge. And I believe that by modeling the toolkit, other libraries like Richland Library can be like Richland Library Edgewood and can really all work to become centers of empathy and understanding, promoting healing and growth within the community. Okay. Whew. Y'all, that was that was a lot. So my plan for the future, I like to say I'm just getting started. I believe this is just the beginning of my research. I've outlined several goals for myself and really for this study and my community work. My first plan is to implement the toolkit in Richland Library Edgewood so I can pilot it. I want to develop and facilitate trainings for library staff and assist in the creation of a community advisory board. I believe a community advisory board in this area would really ensure that the voices of the community members stay present when it comes to library program development and assessment of current services to ensure that the library just remains a hub in the Edgewood community. I would also like to conduct similar studies in other communities in South Carolina and beyond, but really just starting in South Carolina, thinking about communities that have been impacted by historical trauma, like Orangeburg, Charleston, in the North Main area, and the Lower Richland area where I'm from. So I would love to expand this research and really do all of South Carolina. I also aim to create a space where all the oral histories that I've conducted can be heard. I've done some before the dissertation as well with individuals like General Charles Bolden. So if I could create a space where all of my oral histories could be stored and heard, because I learned so much from the people that I talked to just about myself, about why the library is important. And I think in such trying times right now, having those resources be accessible is really important so that we remember why we came into this field and have that encouragement to keep going. I want to expand the scope of my research on Edgewood to include other public serving organizations. I think by collaborating with schools, community centers, and health services, I would be able to create a network or aid in the creation of a network that fosters a deeper understanding of historical trauma and its effects on our communities. This collaboration could lead to the development of shared resources and programs that educate and promote healing and resilience among diverse populations. Ultimately, my goal is to create a sustainable model that empowers all libraries and similar institutions to be proactive agents of change, ensuring that the voices and the histories of all community members are recognized and addressed. Finally, I'm excited to conduct research that aligns with my original goals when I entered into the PhD. I want to focus on creating better experiences for marginalized library users, especially our youth. So okay, y'all, I'm gonna try so hard not to cry. I believe that it's really important to recognize and to say thank you as I close out for the women who have supported and inspired me throughout my doctoral journey. I first want to honor our ancestors, first being my grandmother, Dorothy Diane Lucas, who is posed looking like a model up there. Had it not been for my grandmother, I would not be here. She's the blueprint of the woman that I aspire to be every day. I say it all the time because I miss my girl so much. But by doing this work and staying steadfast, even when it's hard, that's how I honor her legacy. And that is why I keep going. I want to say thank you to and honor our ancestors like Augusta Baker and Ethel Bolden, whose research and work that I fell in love with during my doctoral experience. They opened so many doors for us, and it really showed me that all of this work that we're doing serves such a bigger purpose. One day, as librarians, whether it be through our research or whether it be through the services we provide to someone, will open the door or empower someone to strive for more. And that's what keeps me going. It's really important to honor the ancestors first. Then I want to share my gratitude to my mentors, my colleagues, and my friends. Dr. Nicole Cook, my advisor, Dr. Monica Colon Aguirre, Dr. Cynthia Levy Johnson, Dr. Liz Hartnett, Dr. Aisha Johnson, Tamara King, Professor Patrice Penny, Dr. Valerie Bird Ford, Dr. Candace Morgan, Dr. Linda Lucas Walling, Dr. Julie Herzberger, Dr. Laverne Gray, the ladies of the Spectrum 7, Tempest Johnson, and my best friend and sister, Jamelia Swagger. I just thank you all for opening the doors for me, for creating space for me to just be, and to showing me continuously that my research and my works mattered. Your encouragement really got me through this process. Y'all, one thing about it, two things are certain, I will cry, so let me keep going. As a small way for me to pay it forward, I want to give advice for current MLIS students or incoming doc students or even current doc students. My first piece of advice to you all would be to find your community. Seek peers, mentors, and networks that resonate with your passion. Build relationships in your journey so that you can be in community with people who will provide you support, collaboration, and new opportunities. Many of the opportunities that I received on my doctoral journey came directly from my community. I didn't have to fight to be there. They saw the value in me and they created space. So if you don't do anything else, find community first. Be able to provide mutual benefits to your mentors or your advisors. That's how Dr. Cook became my advisor. I approached her first, I shot my shot, and it transformed my experience. So remember that relationship building is a two-way street. Share your insights and assist them as much as you can to create a rewarding experience for both of you all. Prioritize your work, but invest in your mental wellness. Staying on top of your academic responsibilities is vital, but don't neglect your well being. Sometimes saying no is necessary for maintaining your mental health. As we get into the thickness of our programs, it can seem impossible to find balance, and honestly, sometimes you, it's hard. But you have to prioritize your mental wellness so that you can be the best version of yourself, so that you can finish strong. Get involved and seek opportunities for professional development. Actively participate in activities at your institution and the community. Serving on community committees, boards, and within different organizations can significantly enhance your academic journey and expand your network. A lot of the opportunities that I've been getting more recently has been because I've been so present in the community. It reminds me why my work is valuable at all times, but it allows me to be in community with people who are not in this academic space to really help me to expand my network and my reach. Build your confidence and your expertise. Take on challenges and roles that push you out of your comfort zone. These experiences will really help you grow both personally and professionally. And then finally, and probably the most important, give yourself grace. Remember that being accepted into any program signifies your capabilities and that you're supposed to be there. Allow yourself space to learn and grow, acknowledging that struggles are a part of your journey. Do the work and stay consistent. Please don't procrastinate and stay connected to your passion. Remember why you embarked on your journey and keep pushing forward. And when you reach your goal, make sure that you too pay it forward. I'm going to pass it back over to Dr. Cook to open it up for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harris. So we're not crying today. So
No.
no, we're not doing it. But y'all, there's still graduation, so there's still time. But I just want to commend Cearra on this work. She has grown so much professionally and personally over her doctoral journey, and I'm just very proud of you. So with that, if folks have questions, we have lots of time and would love for you to engage with Cearra in this work that she's accomplished. All right, while I give folks a chance to think of questions. So what's up next? Like immediately.
Y'all, this is okay. Now I'm really gonna try not to cry. So with my work with the consulting group, we're looking at new ways to support the Orangeburg community because prior to me being hired, they did a lot of work with railroad crossing in the redevelopment of that area. So I recently went to Orangeburg where I was able to meet the Cecil Williams and kind of brainstorm ideas of how the toolkit could be expanded into work down there or how I could use aspects of it into talking about environmental justice and civil rights down there. So I asked him if I could do an oral history with him this summer. One thing about it, two things for certain, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I asked I was able to talk to him for over an hour just about his whole life. And he gave me a tour of his museum, just one-on-one. And at the end of that, I asked him if I could do an oral history with him and turn that into a paper this summer. So that's what's next for me right now. I tell the story all the time about how The first protest I ever went to was with my grandmother. My grandmother that passed away, and how I was 6 years old and she had to have a conversation with me about racism at 6, how you have that with somebody at 6. That has always stuck with me. And I remember seeing that picture of Cecil Williams in the water fountain as a little girl.
Mhm.
And I I'm so proud that I did not cry in his face. I cried after I left. But I wanted him to take me serious as a researcher, so I held it together. But that is what I plan on working on this summer. And then our work with the consulting group is also going to be expanded to the 29203, which is that North Main area. So I'm really excited to be able to get to know that community a little bit better as well. With my work with Counseling and Bailey, I spend a lot of time at community meetings, and that job had one thing about opportunities. Sometimes it's the opportunity that you don't expect that's going to put you in the right place that does. And in my role with him, I show up as a representative if he can't go to a meeting. Like that's one part of it. So I never expected, I'm taking meeting notes from him and listening to constituent concerns. I didn't think that would turn into something that I could apply my research to later. Sometimes it's like those small opportunities that we sleep on a little bit that really set you up for success. So having strong relationships in those areas because I'm present for those meetings is allowing people to be more open and receptive to my ideas and welcoming me into their spaces. So I want to expand my research over there. So this summer, the oral history of Cecil Williams is the one thing I know for sure I'm going to do. I'm not missing that opportunity. And he said I could do it in the museum as well. So I'm really excited about that. And then I just want to see how far I can take it. I fell in love with, maybe I talk a lot anyways. So being able to talk to community members is something I fell in love with during the dissertation process. So it's something I want to keep doing. There's a lot of stories to be told within Columbia, and I want to capture as many as I can.
Mhm. Love that. Thank you. So Afnan has a question. She said, I'd love to hear more about your journey. What were some of the main challenges you faced during your PhD?
Mm. Nothing tops my grandma passing away. I think that's the hardest thing I've ever experienced. I got really sick too. Remember, I had to have emergency surgery.
Right before her comprehensive
Yeah,
exam?
I had to have emergency surgery, emergency surgery. Um, so I think, and I, because of those things, I got kind of burnt out through it. I would say right before the comprehensive exams, Dr. Cook could tell you I was a wreck. I got a little burnt out. So I had to invest. And that's why I put that in my advice, like investing in your mental wellness, because getting a therapist was the best thing that helped me process my grief, helped me come up with a plan and a routine that I could stick with that alleviated a lot of my stress and anxiety. And I think in the last 2 years, so comprehensive exams up until now, has been some of my best work because I took care of myself. I feel like finding that balance with the overload of the work can seem impossible, but I was determined to find the balance because I didn't want to fail in this. This was something I became passionate about, and I wanted to see my research all the way through. So finding that balance was probably the most difficult part, and it can seem impossible, but if you're willing to put the work in and you don't procrastinate, you can do it. You can do it.
So you got lots of kudos in the chat.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or thoughts or comments for Sierra? One thing I want to know is, will you ever go back to the library to use services?
I never say never, so maybe when I get to like retirement age, if we're ever gonna be able to retire,
Let's-
maybe I'll do it then. Um, but now I find passion in supporting future librarians. And I say it in my classes all the time, and I really hope they take me serious when I say, let's be in community together so that even though I'm your instructor now, I want to be someone that you can reach out to who can provide support and we can show up for each other. So I think that's how I stay connected to the library now. But through some of the other work that I'm doing through, I have a nonprofit with my best friend that work will extend into supporting community organizations like the library. I'll never have my hands off the public library and now even the school library because I'm in community with a lot of school librarians. So any opportunity to show up for other librarians, I'll take that while I'm not working in the library. So invite me to your stuff, I'll come. Dr. Cook will tell you I will come.
Yes, you will. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, last call for any questions or thoughts. Congratulations. Got lots of those in the chat. I will send that to
Hey, y'all, I didn't cry. Dr. Cook didn't cry.
you. Nope.
Well, I just want to say thank you all for showing up for me and for listening to me talk about my past and the things I hope to do in my current research. Thank you all so much.
And there's no better way to end this season of our Baker programming. Thank you, Dr. Harris. It's been an honor and a pleasure, not just today, but for the past 4 years. And I know you've got so much in store. So looking forward to that and looking forward to seeing, what you come up with next, your future work, and all that good stuff. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be off for the summer and we'll be back in fall of 25 with some new Baker programming. So please stay tuned. Thank you again for coming. Oh, Cearra, you have something?
Yeah, plug the 18.
Yes, see? This is why she can't leave me. Yes. So our last program, Baker program for this season is a talk with author and illustrator Vashti Harrison. Vashti is the first Black woman to win the Caldecott Medal in children's literature, which is a pretty big deal. So we're grateful to have her coming down. You'll be able to join us in person and also online. We will be streaming the event. And then we'll come back in fall of 25.
Perfect.
All right. So thank you all so much. We are grateful for your time, spending some time with us on a Thursday afternoon, and thank you for your support of Baker and also of Dr. Harris. So everyone have a good evening, and we'll talk soon.